So let's get going with this. Let's me try and get the card to 24/7 times, let's say 2 plus 2 is 4, 7 plus, okay, so 7 times 2 plus 2, so that's 28. And then if I take away 6, I get to 22. Okay, that was my first attempt, but I didn't get to 24. Has anybody got a suggestion of how we can get to, I'd love to see in the chat. Any ideas of how we can get to 24? Give it a go. I'll give you another minute and then I'm going to get going. It's almost 5 o'clock now. Neo, I see you've raised your hand. Could I ask you, Neo, just to put it in the chat for now, just because, and then I'll read it out just for efficiency for now. And then I'll explain about that a little bit later too.
Sorry, so subject, if there's anyone that can't hear us, well, you know, it doesn't really help us say it. I'll say the chat as well. But if you guys can't hear us, please let us know. So
Palesa, 6 times 2 times 2. Aha, Palesa, you're on fire. But the problem is we haven't used the 7. So we need to use the 7 to get to 24 in order to. Lasedi has said 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay. And then 4 times 6 is 24. You're absolutely right. But the problem is, again, we've left out the 7 and we can't have 7 feeling left out, I'm afraid. It's an important number. But you're getting warmer. You're getting warmer. I'll give you a sneaky hint. What if you add 7 plus 6? If you did that, could anybody get to 24? And you can only use plus, minus, times, or divide. I'll give you 1 more minute, and then the warm-up is over. Okay, so Neo has said 7 plus 6 is 13. So we've dealt with 7 and we've dealt with 6. Chulu has said 6 plus 7, 13 times. Oh, both of Chulu and Neo are on the money here. They said 13 times 2 is 26, and then they've said 26 minus 2 is 24. So if I wrote that out in a number sentence using BODMAS, I know, throwing in these big words, I would put a bracket around this first to make sure it gets done first. Then I would multiply it by 2, and then I would subtract 2. Now, if I hadn't put the bracket around, then the 7 plus 6 wouldn't have happened first, and I wouldn't have got to 24. So look how maths links up. Well done, everybody. You are smashing it. Let us begin. So just a warm welcome to everybody who's joining us. I really hope that you enjoyed today's session. I'm the main maths teacher who's taking the lesson. And then Anya is my co-teacher who will be monitoring the chat stream. Anya, you just want to say hi quickly so everyone can see you and welcome.
Hi, everyone. Anya here. You should be able to see me now. Or Miss A or Miss V, I don't mind, or M. I'm going to help now. See, Ria needs help, can't hear, and Marty. So I'll get to Ria and Marty shortly. If the rest of you, if you can't hear us, please let us know. Yeah, all right. And that's me from now. I'll hand back to Subs. I'll try and sort out these few kids.
Fantastic. Okay, so just some basic rules and guidelines for today, because as we do this every week, we learn about kind of what works best. And so you'll see these little pictures at the top of the home screen when we start. And I just want to explain what they mean. So the first one is find yourself a nice quiet space and a desk where you can, or a space where you can be alone and concentrate, and you have a pen and a pencil with you that you can actively practice, because you need to be active during this lesson for it to make a difference. Then can you also please turn your cell phone or a laptop onto mute. We will ask you to comment and make questions audibly at times, but for the default, for most of the time, you'll be on mute. Then, every 15 minutes or so, we will stop the lesson, and everybody who wants to ask, or if you carry on asking questions in the chat stream, Anya will monitor that. And every 15 minutes or so, I will stop, take questions from Anya about the most common questions. And I'll even ask people who want to audibly comment to come on and give us some questions and comments. But most of the time, if you've got a question, we really want you to actively participate by putting your question in the chat stream. And then Anya will do her best to respond, but also look for questions that are similar to yours. Okay, so every 15 minutes or so, we'll stop. We'll get a little bit of audible feedback. I don't want to feel like I'm the only one talking, but if we don't control this well, it can be a bit all over the place. Okay, so we're going to try this for today. If it doesn't work, then we'll try something different. But that's the goal for now. Okay, was there a question? Sorry, Anya? Okay, can I ask everybody to put their microphones on mute? Anya, I don't know if you can turn people onto mute if need be, but we will take questions audibly very shortly. But for now, I just want to explain where we're going today. And I want you to get ready. I want you to have a pen, your book, and we're going to start. Okay, so on to the show. So we've done admin and announcements. Just to also remind you that the website is very important for Watobe. So in future, on Wednesdays, we will have a quiz, which is based around a fun quiz based around the material we're doing here to give you some feedback. And you need to have a login sort of account. And you log into the website in order to take that quiz. Okay, now we've spoken about that previously, but basically you just go to the Watobe website and you sign up for a free trial and we go from there. So I just want to encourage you to spend some time on the website if you haven't done already. Now, a recap of the last lesson. In fact, before I do a recap, I would love for students to put words in the chat stream of what they remember from last time. And I will put them on the screen. So show me what you remember, 2 lessons already, and maybe some students are new. And so I'd love to hear from you what last time, what are the topics we covered? We talked about the natural numbers, and we spoke about whole numbers, and we spoke about different types of numbers or classifying numbers. Now, the focus of this unit is on whole numbers. Okay, let's see what I can do. Whole numbers, and whole numbers basically start at 0, and we go 1, 2, and so on. And often we can visualize them on a number line. Okay, and they go up, and there's not, they don't have any sort of fractional parts. Who else has some words that they remember from last time? What other words can you remember before I remember for you? Who remembers? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you remember BODMAS. Ah, Zanati, on the money, on the money. BODMAS. Or in some countries, they call it PEMDAS. And what that is about is it groups operations into categories. The ones to the furthest left are most important, or they come first, and then division and multiplication come second, and then addition and subtraction, shame, they only come last. Okay, perfect. Now, in the last lesson, we was talking about order of operations, and that's where we're going to carry on from. So we're going to start with a little traffic check light thing. And these are all whole numbers. And I want you to try and do, I'm going to give you, say, 5 minutes to do as much as you can of these. I want you to do all the green ones first. Once you've done the green ones, you move on to the orange ones. And then some of you, I think most of you will struggle to get to the red, but some of you might get to the red last. And I want to see how many you can do. And then I'm going to go through them with you, and I'm going to take some questions. And so when you're doing these, when you get stuck, please do use the chat stream, but also give yourself a chance to give it a go. So I'm going to let you start now. It is now 10 past. At 15 minutes past, I'm going to start talking and kind of giving answers. And we also take some audible questions so I can hear your lovely voices. Okay, on your marks, get set, go.
So while the kids are working out, do you mind just zooming in a little bit? Because some of our viewers are struggling to see the text a bit. Thank you very much.
Give us a thumbs up if you can see properly now. Give us a thumbs up if you can see properly. Okay. Guys, this is what I love about being live on the internet. If you can't see, I can make it happen. I just use the magic of Zoom. So you just keep those comments coming. Okay. Do the best. I'm going to get some water.
Okay, so just a reminder while Sir's grabbing some water, let's first do all the green. If you're happy with your answers for green, test them also, and then you can move on to yellow. So work from left to right.
Yeah. So I need just to ask you also, am I staying within the camera zone most of the time when
it's just check now and again when you lean in forward, then we tend to chop off your face. So when, especially when you're talking, try to, but it's a lot better. Keep it up.
Perfect. So if you're feeling very confused by bod, you have a choice between the multiplication and the addition. And what does BODMAS say about what needs to be done first? So should you be multiplying first or should you be adding first? That's the main crux of the question. Kamechlo, can I ask you to put your question in the chat and then we will answer you in the chat? We'll take audible questions at 1:15.
Okay, sir.
Perfect.
Tando, sorry, I just muted you. Just please, guys, just a reminder, we'll give you guys an opportunity to chat. For now, you can share your answers in the chat. If not, just hold on. We'll give you guys an opportunity to chat to us. Right.
So what I've done is I've actually done the green ones just to kind of get you on your way. And I'm going to give you a little tip for the orange one, because I know it's a bit confusing. What happens when there's division, division, and multiplication? Now, in this case, division and multiplication actually are in the same group. And so what you do is when you have operations that have the same importance, all you do is go from left to right. So in order to go from left to right, because like if there was an addition or a subtraction, it would be done last. But because these are all divisions and multiplications, They're all the same importance. So all we can do is go from left to right like we read. And so we get left with 8 divided by 2 times by 5. And then what we do is we do the next one going from left to right, which would give us 4 times 5, which would then give us 20. So that's what we do in the situation where all the numbers have the same importance, or all the operations, I should rather say, have the same importance. Bumzile, you're on fire. I'll get you another question. Hold on. Oh wait, I suppose I shouldn't move too much. Why don't you? I'll give you another. Why don't you try that on from Zile, just to give you. Oh, sorry guys, I'm trying to be too clever. This is what happens when you try to get too clever. Okay. Okay, it's 1:15, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of these for you, and then I'm going to ask for questions, but for you to raise your hand for comments and questions. So, but let me just quickly do a couple of them. So this next one, it's going to be, the working is going to be like that, and like that, and then it's going to be 60. And then this one is just going to be 30 minus 10 plus 3, which is 20 plus 3, 23. And then for, in fact, let me stop there for a second. I would like some comments or questions from the class. How are you feeling? Do you, let's see those hands. Otherwise, if you prefer to put in the chat, we can also look at the chat. And then Anya, if you could just let me know. Pumzile, could you go ahead? I see your hand is raised. Please unmute yourself.
So I was wondering that the BODMAS, when we started first, should we look at the brackets and then go on? Should we start with brackets, go into division, and carrying on as it's done?
Thank you for your question, Pumzile. Let me show you let's do an example together. Question. You have division and you have brackets. Now, according to BODMAS, basically the brackets and powers are going to be at the top of the food chain. So we do the stuff inside the bracket first. So in this case, we are going to get 30 divided by 5 because 12 minus 7 is 5. Now we're stuck with 2 operations that are of the same importance. And so now all we do is we go from left to right. So we go 30 divided by 5 is 6, and 6 times 3 is 18. So you absolutely have to do the brackets first. I know in South Africa we say BODMAS. I like PEMDAS just because E sounds like exponent or powers, but I think we need a bit of work first there. The main thing to think about is there are 3 groups, and the first group that's important is the one with brackets and powers. The second group is division and multiplication. The third group is addition and subtraction. And you have to go in that order when given a choice. Anya, are there any questions in the chat that I should be aware of before marking some more?
Okay, we've got Murdy on the line, and then after Murdy, we've got Tando. So Tando, can you just mute for now, please? And once Murdy is done, Tando can chat.
Yeah, so I need to answer for the second one.
Okay.
My answer is 4 times 6 divided by 2 is 12. For the one you just answered, but this second one is the one I'm answering to.
Perfect. Let's have a look. I agree with you that this first bit is 24, and I agree it's divided by 2 because that has to be done. So the final answer is 12. Perfect. Thank you very much. Next person. That was, you guys are doing well at this. Who was the next
then
person?
we've got Yandisa.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah.
So I was asking for the first one, 30 divided by 12 minus 7. So
Yeah.
I'm a bit confused. How did you get to 5?
Okay. So it goes to the idea that 12 minus 7 is 5. The fact is I had to do the thing inside the bracket first because of the order of operations rule. Let me show you in the other example over here. Can you see, I'm going to highlight a question in yellow.
Yes, sir.
Even though there's a division, the thing that is inside the bracket has to get done first. And so we go 40 divided by 5 because 12 minus 7 is 5. Then we go
sir.
40 divided by 5 is 8. And that's how we go. Okay, I'm going to take one more question. And then I'm going to move on. So one more person. Yeah.
Okay, we've got Tandor's next, and I see Murdy has raised her hand again, but we're just going to go on to Tandor, please.
Tandor?
Sorry, sir, for being late.
No, it's not a problem. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, with what you're saying is that even though they're supposed to start with division, but the brackets have 12 minus 7. Is it very important to start first with the ones in the brackets?
Yeah, it is. Because the reason is in mathematics, we define that we have to decide ahead of time which operation gets done first. And we have decided, like mathematicians have got together and decided this works. And so let me give you another example. If you look at this question over here, you'll notice that there's a multiplication and then there's a subtraction inside a bracket and then an addition. You have to do the thing in the bracket first. And so what's going to happen there is that you're going to have 6 is still going to be times, and then you're going to get 6 for that, and then plus 3. So this part here is going to be done first. And that's because of a decision that mathematicians have made. And we often use the word BODMAS to kind of remind us about what's most important, which is up this side, and then what's further down, which is down this side. Now, the final answer for this one would be, now I have to do multiplication, because multiplication is before addition. And so I get 36 plus 3, and then I get 39.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure, man. It's really nice to hear your guys' voices. Okay, let me just finish off these last ones. So in this case, I know this, it looks a little bit like a crime scene. So let me zoom in a little bit. Oh, why is my Mac doing funny things? Let's just go and make it a little bit bigger. So in this case, I have to do the bracket first, but within the bracket, there's actually 3 to the power of 2. And what that means is just 3 times 3. So we get 1 plus 9 in a bracket times 5. And then 1 plus 9 is 10. And so we get 50. And then the last one, whoa, that looks a bit sneaky, scary. But don't worry, we will make it listen to us. I have to do the bracket first. If you look at this series of things, 2 to the power of 3 plus 30 divided by that, it looks like a fruit salad, right? But the most important thing is to know where to start in this fruit salad. And we know that the brackets are the most important. We must do those first. They are the thing with the highest precedence if you really want to get snazzy about it. So what we're going to do then is we are going to say, well, we've got 2 to the power of 3 plus 30 divided by this thing, which is 10. Okay, now we have to decide what's next. And what's next is this thing to the power of 3 or exponent. This thing is going to get done next. And I get 8 plus 30 divided by 10. Now, given a choice between addition and division, I have to do division first. And so I'm going to go equals 8 plus 3, because that's what you get. And then my final answer is 11. Okay. So guys, I would encourage you, if you feel unsure about this, we are going to practice some more of this in future. It's going to come up again, but also you can review this video at a later stage on YouTube just to get a top up if you need. And I'm going to move on from this because I think we had enough practice just for now. I want to do one other thing now before we move on. Okay, next thing we're going to do today is the art of estimation. Sometimes in grade 8, you have to estimate things. And I want to hear from the class, give me a thumbs up if you've heard of the word estimate before and you've done some estimating. Give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't heard of estimate before, I want you to give me a thumbs down. Okay, so if you haven't heard of estimate before, give me a thumbs down, just so I can get a feel for the group. Okay, Tomato, I see. Zayan, I see. So most people have heard of this thing called estimation. I just want to see that you know how to use it, because in grade 8, you are expected to know how to do the operations, manually, but you can use your calculators. But sometimes they ask you to do something without a calculator and to estimate. And all estimating really needs is the skill of rounding off and some basic multiplication or operation rules. Is I'm going to do a couple of questions for you. I'll estimate the answers for each of the following products and sums. Try to approximate the answers and the sums to the nearest 100. So for example, what we're going to do here is, let's look at this question here. All we're going to do is, in order to estimate this, if I did this manually and I had to multiply it manually, it would be quite a long process. It'd be like, there's different methods for doing it, but a lot of you, I suspect, would use this idea where you break up 178 into pieces and you do the various parts, all these other fast multiplication methods. But we're just interested in using rounding to estimate and sort of powers of 10. So if I had to round...
Sorry, sir.
Yeah?
So do you mind just zooming in a bit for us? These are struggling to see.
Perfect. Anya, thank you so much. Perfect. Okay. So if I round off 84 to the nearest 100, and the symbol for approximate is like a squiggly equal sign, looks like that. If we're going to approximate 84 times 178, we're just going to round off the biggest digit. So in this case, it's the tens digit with the 8, and we round to the nearest 100, and we're going to get 100. Then we are going to take 178, and we're going to round that off to the nearest 100. Actually, we could even round this to the nearest 10. Maybe we should do that. Let's see what it says. Try the products to the nearest 1,000. Okay, let's do that rather. I'm going to round off 84 to the nearest 10, which is going to give me 80. And then I'm going to round off 178 to the nearest 100, and that is going to give me 200. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 8 times 2 is 16, okay? And so all I'm going to get then is I'm going to get 16,000. Let's make sure I'm right there. That is correct. 80 times 100 would be 8,000, so that's, yeah. And so we get an estimate for this, which isn't too far from the truth, of 16,000. And this is called, when you multiply two things, you get something called a product. So this is the products are all on this side, on the left. Now, if you're doing a sum, okay, we can also round off like this. Often we write sums vertically. If we round off 677 to the nearest 10, we're going to get 680. And if we round off 638 to the nearest 10, we're going to get 640. And if we add those together, we're going to get 2, and then we're going to get, carry the 1, we get 1320. Okay, so that's the basic idea. And I would just like you to do, I just want you to test out your estimation. So could you do the following ones? I want you to do this one, that one, and that one. And I want this to be to the nearest hundreds. And I want these ones to be to the nearest thousands. Okay, so you're just going to do C, E, and F. And I want you guys to do that. And I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that. So it's now 17:29. At 17:32, I'm going to ask for answers in the chat. And then I'll also get some questions and raised hand. Okay, I think I can take a few audible questions. Susana, I saw, in fact, Anya, whose hand is up? And then they can ask a question while students are working.
So we've got Susanna's hand is up. So Susanna, you can unmute and go ahead with your question.
Susana?
Are we gonna round off to the nearest 10 or 100?
Okay, so I suppose I was a little bit confusing. The final answer is going to be to the nearest 1,000 with the multiplication and to the nearest 100 with the addition. But when you're actually rounding off the individual items, for example, here, let's round off to the nearest 100. So basically 124, I'm going to round that off to the nearest 100. And then I'm going to round off the 93 to the nearest 10. So that's going to be times 90, which means the final answer would be 9,000. Does that help?
Yeah, that's fine. Good.
That's what I mean by I don't mean you have to round off 124 to 1,000, because then it would just lose everything. Yeah.
Because what I thought that for so for 84, I go to 80. But for 178, I thought you were gonna round it off to 180, I think.
No. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. I rounded to the nearest 100. Yeah. No, I see. So what I'm doing is I'm basically looking, this is a good question actually. If you look at the number 124, I've rounded off to the nearest 100 because it's got 100 in the digit. 93, because it's made up of 9 tens, I've rounded off to the nearest 10. So you see, I'm looking at the number, like the biggest. So for example, let's actually do an extra one because I've been a bit vague. Let's do G as well. In 79, I'm going to round that off to the nearest 10, which is 80. And I'm also going to round off 84 to the nearest 10, which is 80. Now, the reason I did that, because there is no 100 number, like the numbers, the biggest digit is basically a tens column in this question. Whereas in the previous one, the biggest digit was in the hundreds column. And that's kind of what I'm doing. See if you can do G using that idea. And I've decided that I'm also going to add this question for you guys. Can you estimate the answer to those three?
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
And then, so we've got a question from Murdy as well. Murdy, you can unmute and ask your question.
Go ahead, Murdy.
Murdy, can you hear us?
Okay. Maybe he had a bit of signal problem. Okay, so I'm going to go along and do the addition ones. So the nearest, if we look at 921, the biggest digit is in the hundreds column. And so the nearest 100 is going to be 900. And 367, the biggest digit is in the hundreds column, and the nearest 100 is 400. And so basically the final answer is going to be 1,300. The estimate is going to be 1,000. No, yeah, 1,300. For this H764, the nearest 100 is going to be 800. And the other one, the nearest 100 is going to be 800 as well. And so we get 1,600 as our estimate. And then the last one here, because the biggest digit is in the tens column, I round off to the nearest 10. And so 5, 6, so that would be 60 times the nearest 100 for 348 is going to be 400. No, it's going to be 300. Oh my goodness. Look at me. Anya, did I see your hand or a comment? Are you good?
Sorry to interrupt you. I think we just maybe need to go through like actually rounding up and down a bit before we do the actual calculations, because I see a few of our learners are struggling a bit with that.
Yeah. Let me slow down a little bit about the rounding. So if we look at the number 56 and we look at the number 348, those numbers are being multiplied together in my question. So let me zoom in for a second. So it's just what we focus on. It's got really big now. Okay. If you look at the number 56, we are going to round off to the column that has the biggest digit. So in this case, or the one that's furthest to the left. So the 5 is furthest to the left in this number, and the 3 is furthest to the left in this number. Now, because of the position value of numbers, the 5 is in the tens column, okay? And because of the position value of numbers in 348, this is in the 3 is in the hundreds column. Now, when we round off, we don't actually look at the number that's furthest to the left. We look at the one that's next door, okay? So we look at the 6 over here or the 4 over here. And what we ask ourselves is we say this. We say, look, if the number in this position where the blue line is 5 or above, then the one to the left will go up. Whereas if the number with the blue line under it is 4 or below, the number next to it is going to stay the same. Now, I suppose that sounds very wordy, but let me show you how this works. If you look at 6, 6 is above 5, and so the number next to it needs to go up, and it rounds off to 60. Okay, so this is going to be in our question. When we're estimating, we're going to round this off to 60. The 348, however, the 3 is the hundreds, but now I need to look at in the column next to it. And here is the tens. And in this case, the number is not 5 or above, it's actually below 5. And so this one will stay the same, and this will become 2 zeros. And so we get 60 times 300. And so now what we do is, and I'll even add some more details here, if we go 6 times 3, we get 18. Okay. And if we then say, well, we've only got those 3 zeros left, we're going to get 18,000. Another way to see this is to ask yourself, what is 60 times 100? Well, 60 times 100 is 6,000, but you don't have 100, you've got 300 that you're working with. So give me a thumbs up if you feel comfortable with this rounding. Give me a thumbs down if you want me to, if you don't feel comfortable and you want us to do another little example of rounding like this. So thumbs up if you feel comfortable with rounding. Thumbs down if you want another example of rounding because you haven't quite got it yet. Okay, I'm not seeing too much at this stage. I'm going to assume that that was sort of okay, and students can go back at a later stage. Okay, guys, it's time for a brain break because I've been putting the hammer down today. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is something called pen flipping. I don't know if you've ever heard of pen flipping, but if you haven't, today's your lucky day. So what you do, and make sure you've got a bit of space around you and you're not going to knock anything over. And I want you to have a pen in your hand, and I want you to be holding the bottom of the pen. Okay, give me a thumbs up when you're ready to go. I want to see that you've got a pen in your hand and you've got a space that's clear from you. And we're just going to allow your brain to take a little break from what it's been doing. I want to see the thumbs up so I know that you've got your pens in your hand. Malcolm, have you got your pen? Have you got your pen ready? Chulu, Pumzile, are you ready to go? I'm about to introduce you to the magic of pen flipping. Warning, you may get addicted. Okay, so make sure that you've got some space because I know I knock things over when I do this. Take the pen and all you want to do is throw it in the air and make it do one rotation and then catch it at the same place you launch it from. So I'm going to go like this. Oh, that's hard. So you're trying to get it to rotate. That was 3 turns. you're trying to get it to rotate just once in the air. Oh, there we go. One. Oh, bad one by me. Another bad one. So
I don't know if someone completely bug it up there.
Yeah, it's hard, eh? It's so hard, but you get better. Do you understand? Are you understanding? Is it coming through clearly what you meant to do? Can you see on the screen? Like,
guys, it's like bottle flipping, but with a pen. But please make sure there are no pets or people nearby, because you might take an eye out.
Yeah. So you take a pen and you're trying to flip it and catch it, so that you catch it with just, it spins around in the air once and it lands at you catch it at the same place. Okay, I'm getting better at this. Let me see if you can. My screen is too zoomed in, I think. Oh, that wasn't bad. Let's see. One. Okay, so you've got a minute to try and do it successfully. And if you can do it successfully, I want to see a smiley face at the end of a minute. Oh, I did it perfectly, but I've done it about 10 times. So, has anybody managed to do it successfully? Who's done a pen flip successfully? Give me a happy face, smiley face, if you've done it. This is no ordinary challenge I've given you guys. This is this is a bit harder than normal. Okay. I need to get my camera to zoom out. Oh, perfect one. Let's see. Flip. My hands are a bit sticky. Okay. Anybody manage? I don't see any happy faces. Come on, somebody must have the talent to do a pen flip correctly. Anya, have you managed?
I just hope no one saw me. I really hope no one saw me.
Okay, guys, I hope that was fun. Oh, I see Ramachle. I think he's nailed it. And who else has got a happy face? So, guys, we're going to move on to the last part of today's lesson. We're almost done. I just want to introduce you to something called factors. And some of you may have learned about this already, but just I'm going to give you a brief intro, and then we'll carry on with this in the next lesson. So factors. So factors are just numbers that divide another number exactly. So to show you, let's start with a number like 6. Does 1 divide 6 perfectly? It does, because 6 divided by 1 is 6. So 1 is a factor of 6. Is 2 a factor of 6? Let's test. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 2 is a factor of 6. Is 3 a factor of 6? It is. Is 4 a factor of 6? Let's see. Nope. No luck on 4. Is 5 a factor of 6? No. And is 6 a factor of 6? I think it is. Okay. So give me a thumbs up if you understand the basic idea of a factor. Give me a thumbs down if factors are just not your cup of tea. I just want to check that you understand what a factor is.
Yes.
So while we're on that, just reminding you guys, please just unmute your mics. While we're on that, a way that I used to teach factors as was, you have to fit into the number. So factors fit into a given number. So that's one way to remember.
Yeah. So another way of doing it is think of factor pairs, like 2 times 3 gives you 6. And 1 times 6 gives you 6. So factors tend to like to hang out together. They're not loners, right? So factors like to hang with another factor. And so this is an important idea. Now, there are some special types of numbers. Some numbers only have 2 factors, and some numbers have more than 2 factors. What are the special words we use? We're going to do a whole lesson on these later. But what are the words we use for a number that has more than 2 factors? And what are the words we use for a number like 3? The number 3 only has 2 factors. There's only two numbers that divided exactly. Can I see in the chat for now? No shout, no new audio. I just want to see in the chat. What are the special words? I want to see those words. Diana.
Boom, I've sent you a message or so. Can you just please check in the chat? If I reach you guys after the chat, please respond there before you try to chat online, please.
Perfect. Okay, so you guys have got this. So 6 is an example of a composite number, and 3 is an example of the prime numbers. These are really important numbers, and the way we identify them is by how many factors they have. Now, it's very easy to do when the number is small, where you can make a big list, but sometimes it gets a bit harder when the numbers get, let me just scroll down. Come on, Jane. Sometimes if I give you a number like, let's say like 65, to find out the factors of 65, it becomes a little bit harder. So we may want to, kind of think of a more methodical way of breaking up the number 65 into its factors. And I'm just going to introduce you today to what's called the ladder method, and then we're going to end the session. Okay, and the way the ladder method works, I'm going to start the next lesson with this, but you ask yourself, what is the smallest prime number that will divide into 65? So does anybody know, does 2 go into 65? No, because it's an uneven number. It won't divide 65 perfectly, but I see somebody in the chat is on the money. Motti is on the money. 5 would go into 65. And if I know my times tables, 5 divided by 65 is going to be, 65 divided by 5 is going to give me 13. And now I ask myself, what is the next prime number going up from 5 that divides into 13? So let's think about this. What's the next prime number after 5? It's 7. 7 doesn't go into 13. What's the next prime after 7? 11 is a prime, doesn't go in. So we have to go with 13. And 13 divided by 13 is 1. And now the ladder method has given us our factors. So 65 has factors, prime factors, 5 and 13. Or I could write 65 as 5 times 13. Now, I'm going to talk more about this method in the next lesson. I don't want to go any further tonight, but I just want you to think about, if you think about prime factors, there's something quite special about prime factors. And in some senses, all numbers are made up of prime factors. And that will be kind of the topic of the next lesson. Okay, I just want to finish today with any questions and a little poll, just to get a sense of how you guys are feeling. So Anya, could you, if you look at the poll tab in Zoom, could you release that to the students?
I can do so. Do it now if you don't mind.
That'll be perfect. And then I'd love to hear any last questions or comments from students. So if you could just raise your hand, and then Anya will allocate you some time and I will answer your questions.
So we've got a few hands up. We've got Kumo's hand is up as well as Murdy. So Kumo, if you've got a question.
Sir, I just wanted to answer the question.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Which question was that? 65?
Yes.